I joined 7 book clubs in the greater Chicago area simultaneously. 7. And that meant I was reading 7 novels simultaneously. I thought that was the perfect solution. After all, doing that much reading, when would I have time to think about the shambles of my life? Yeah, that sounds good in theory, but every book reminded me of what I'd lost, or worse, what I'd never had. A fulfilling marriage, a life with someone who considered me his best friend. Children. Every book, from The Picture of Dorian Gray to Eat, Pray, Love, from Lord of the Rings to The Hunger Games, somehow reminded me of my misery. When my dark American romanticism book club started reading The Scarlet Letter, I knew I'd had all I could take. I quit all of the book clubs except for the one on Monday night, because that was the one that met closest to my house. I decided that Monday night book club would be my primary hobby and exclusive social circle. And I approached that social circle the only way I knew how, with all of the rules and safeguards that had been so necessary for self-preservation in the highfalutin world of the snobs and blue bloods, into which I had made every effort to feel as if I belonged. I would dress for success and speak only when I had something monumental and memorable to contribute. I would hide my scars and shortcomings and only put forth the most impressive version of myself. I would keep everyone at arm's length so that if I eventually fell out of favor with them, I would not be impacted. It would be just like any other social gathering I had ever attended, apart from one striking difference. My last name was no longer McDermott, so I wouldn't be viewed as nothing more than an accessory from the moment I was introduced. And with all the extra time, once I had whittled the book club list down to 1, I would write a book of my own. Then I could be in control of the content. Then my emotions wouldn't be putty in the hands of authors who had probably written to escape their own misery, with nary a care given to the feelings of the miserable divorcee who would one day read their work while attempting to bury her pain beneath enough cheesecake to bestow diabetes upon a small village. I'd never written anything before, but I'd certainly done more than my fair share of reading. How hard could it be? My first attempt was a book of poetry. And while I waited for the call from the president asking me to accept the post of Poet Laureate of the United States, I decided it was time to share my gift with the world, or at least the Monday Night Book Club. Though I couldn't ever remember their names, the ladies in that circle were, after all, my closest friends. No, I hadn't known them very long. And yes, our conversations had never plunged any deeper than whether we'd prefer Jim Caviezel as the Count of Monte Cristo or Jesus, but they were the constants in my life of upheaval, and I knew that our bond was true and indestructible. I'd been walking into that high school library every Monday evening for 2 months, but that first Monday evening in June was the beginning. That Monday evening represented a fresh start. That Monday evening was the first book club meeting of the rest of my life. "Excuse me." I raised my hand and smiled as the ladies began gathering their things to go, having exhausted all possible thoughts, feelings, and debates over Northanger Abbey. "If you could all just spare a few more moments of your time, if it's not too much to ask." I blinked sweetly, conveying humility so well in that tried and true manner I had watched Patrick employ for so many years. I rarely spoke in book club, so I wasn't surprised that everyone stopped in their tracks. "Of course, Sarah. What can we do for you?" asked the leader of the book club, whose name had slipped my mind. And by slipped my mind, I mean I hadn't bothered to learn it. "I value each and every opinion in this circle. You each present such witty and insightful views, and that, I believe, is what I, as a budding poet, need in order to develop my craft." I saw them take in my rehearsed speech, and they responded with enthusiastic support. Once I was fully convinced that they were the eager demographic I was seeking, I meekly proceeded. "You are all just the best. If no one would mind, may I?" I opened the leather-bound binder in my hands and pulled out the crisp linen stationery on which I had lovingly transcribed each poem by hand over the course of the past several days and began to read. Lights flicker. Kerosene? Perhaps. The man in suede wishes me well, but I doubt his sincerity. Never you mind. Suede and kerosene. The two don't mix. Boom. I read poem after poem, and as expected, I was rewarded with